We'll bring the April 18th, 2016 City Council meeting for Vandalia to order, and we'll begin with a brief moment of reflection. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Council, you have before you the previous minutes from previous meetings. Are there any changes, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the council workshop minutes. Any comments? Those are approved. And the council meeting minutes of April 4th, 2016. Same. Approved. Communications, petitions, and awards. We have none this evening. We have no public hearing this evening. This brings us to comments from interested citizens. If anybody is interested in speaking, please approach the podium and give your name and address.
Joe Dranchak, 1328 Cornish Drive, Vandalia. And I'm here tonight to just represent the Historical Society, Vandalia Butler. We have a few of our members in case there's any questions for us. And then I did want to, more importantly, I wanted to share some information. We were at a workshop a couple weeks ago on this B-City USA program. And I turned in to Missy last Friday a sizable amount of material, and I just wanted to tonight mention that there's a cover letter, and then there's like a 18-page summary of what I contacted the other cities, the other 15 cities that are actually doing the program, and then there's a report that we got from B-City USA that is the 15 annual reports from those cities. So there's a lot of material to look at, and mainly what I wanted to share this evening was that at our board meeting on the 11th, our board unanimously approved that we encourage and support the City Council continuation of looking at the program. So whatever the City Council decides, we're fine with it, but we're in support of the program. And also, there's a variety of activities around town with and I know that they're not necessarily part of Vandalia, but we've got the Audubon, we've got the History Club at school, we have the Parks and Recs, we've got our property, which is 4.5 acres of nature area. And so there's a number of things that the library even told me that they would be interested in doing something for this year for the National Pollinators Week if we decided to do that. So anyway, I just wanted to share this information that hopefully you can get to it on one of the next workshops. And then if you have any questions, let us know. And I think that the current president for the History Club wanted to say something too. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Sam Pennywood, 845 DeSale Street. And as Joe said, History Club is a big part of the Historical Society. We help them out with a lot of different things. So I was at the last meeting they had, and when he brought up the B-City project, I kind of went to a couple of our teachers, and then I went to the History Club advisor. So I went to Mr. Oldfield, who does the environmental science class, and he also has the Planeteers. And the Planeteers is kind of we got a grant for energy conservation. So I was like, conservation, the same word and everything. So the grant for the energy conservation is kind of separate, but the Planeteers are looking to kind of expand their reach into more just conservation in general. So what he said he was willing to do is we're going to talk to the administration. We've already been talking to the administration about setting up a garden at the high school in one of the green spaces, and we would in turn make that like a pollinator garden, so it would kind of go hand in hand with the Bee City initiative. And then the History Club would be glad to help with any Bee City project at the Historical Society or within the school. So kind of showing that there's more than just one part of the whole city behind this project. That's all.
Thank you very much. And I think that was a component that we were looking for, is how much support there was at large with your proposal, Mr. Dranchek. John, you want to schedule then after Ms. Brzezinski's had a chance to go through that paperwork and either a retreat or our workshop discussions before? Sounds like there's quite a bit to discuss, though, and I don't know if we'll get through it all.
Well, we can get it to you well in advance of when we're going to
Okay.
discuss it to give you plenty of time.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? We will go to the city manager's report. Doesn't appear that we have anything of particular note there. Mr. Cruzy, information items, none. Resolutions. We'll begin. Mr. McDonald, would you read 13R34 by title only, please?
Resolution 16R34, a resolution authorizing a bonus payment to the city manager.
Mr. Cruzy?
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Sorry.
Yeah, again, this resolution authorizes a lump sum bonus to be paid to the city manager in the amount of 2.5% of his base annual salary. This bonus is based upon the city manager's recently completed annual evaluation.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve Resolution 16-R-34.
Second. Motion by Richard Herbst, second by Mr. Gerhart. Is there any discussion?
No, I'd just like to say this was,
Please.
we did an evaluation of John, and we're very happy with your performance, John, and
Thank you.
look forward to working with you this year and going forward.
And I would echo the same comments. Any others? Mr. McDonald, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes. And the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R35. Mr.
Resolution 16R35, a resolution waiving the formal bidding process and entering into a contract for design and specifications for the Airport Access Road Bridge Deck repair with LJB Inc. at the cost of $14,650.
Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, $20,000 is budgeted for the services of an engineering consultant to conduct a detailed inspection and prepare the design and specifications for the needed repairs to the Airport Access Road Bridge over Stone Quarry Road. A request for proposals was sent to 4 ODOT certified engineering firms. LJB Inc. submitted the lowest cost proposal of $14,650 for the required services. We also have $260,000 budgeted for the bridge deck repairs later this year.
Very good. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 16-R-35.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Ehlers, a second by Councilman Blakesley. Mr. McDonald, will you read the roll?
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes. And the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R36. Mr. McDonald.
16R36, a resolution approving the replat of the Wasson Plat.
Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. Jerry and Sharon Wasson are proposing to replat 3 lots at the southwest corner of National Road and Waller Avenue to create one 0.9470 acre parcel. The property is zoned highway business. The purpose of the replat is to accommodate the construction of an O'Reilly's Auto Parts store. The Planning Commission reviewed this replat on March 22nd and recommended approval.
Very good. Entertain a motion on 16R36.
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 16R36.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Blakesley, second by Mr. Gerhart. Mr. McDonald, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R37. Mr. McDonald.
All pretty short titles today.
Yes.
16R37, a resolution approving the final plat of Keith Gadd.
Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gadd is proposing to replat 2 lots to create one 3.8305 acre parcel at 1728 South Dixie Drive, which is located on the east side of Dixie Drive across from Mulberry Road. The front parcel is currently occupied by single-family residents. The property is zoned residential single-family 2. The Planning Commission reviewed this plat on March 22nd and recommended approval.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion on 16R37.
Make a motion we approve Resolution 16-R-37.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Gerhart, second by Councilman Blakesley. Mr. McDonald.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R38. Mr. McDonald.
16R38, a resolution declaring 7 body armor vests surplus and authorizing them to be donated to Sinclair's Criminal Justice Training Academy.
Mr. Cruzy.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, the police department is proposing to have 7 body armor vests declared surplus and donate them to Sinclair's Criminal Justice Training Academy. The vests are currently 11 to 15 years old, which is past their useful life. They're no longer utilized by our officers, and they cannot be sold or transferred to another police agency.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion on Resolution 16R38.
I move that we approve 16-R-38.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Herbst and a second by Councilman Ayers. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. McDonald, will you read the roll?
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R39. Mr. McDonald.
16R39, a resolution waiving the formal bidding process and authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for electric generation supply with a competitive retail electric service provider and appointing procuring agents for bids.
Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Miami Valley Communications Council is preparing to bid out a new electric generation supply agreement on behalf of a regional coalition of cities. The contract would establish electric rates to be paid by participating jurisdictions for the municipal council buildings. MVCC first bid out electric generation in 2011 on behalf of 22 municipalities. The current contract is set to expire December 31 of this year. This resolution would authorize the manager to enter into an agreement with the retail electric service provider that provides the lowest and best competitive rates.
Very good. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 16R-39.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Fairst and second by Councilman Blakesley. Is there any discussion? Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yeah.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R40. Mr. McDonald.
Resolution 16R40, resolution adopting the City of Vandalia Boards, Commissions, and Committee Handbook.
Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. The purpose of the handbook is to educate members about the roles and responsibilities of their respective boards and commissions and how to properly conduct their meetings. The handbook also clarifies that only those members of boards and commissions that are created by the charter will be considered officials for the purposes of determining who is required to take the oath of office.
Very good. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 16-R-40, a resolution adopting the City of Vandalia Boards, Commissions, and Committee Handbook, but at this time remove the reference to any variance standards.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have an amended motion by Councilman Forrest, Councilwoman Forrest, and Councilman Ehlers, Councilman Herbst. Tough day. May I have the roll? Oh, wait, comments from council? None? Mr. McDonald?
Just to clarify, we did at the work session discuss this matter and removing the variance standards. We plan on reviewing those and possibly add them to the book in the future or as a separate book, just so for clarification for those who are listening. Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R-41, Mr. McDonald.
A resolution approving a financial contribution to the Historical Society of Vandalia Butler.
Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. $15,000 was appropriated in Council's budget for a donation to the Historical Society for any and all maintenance-related projects. And it's necessary for Council to take formal action to authorize this donation. Council did receive a letter from the Historical Society that was presented last fall during budget review, outlining the Historical Society's 2015 achievements and asking for your continued support.
Very good. May I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 16R41 as read.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley, a second by Councilwoman Forrest. Is there discussion on this issue? Seeing none, Mr. McDonald, will you read the roll?
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Resolution 16R-42, Mr. McDonald.
16R42, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Regional Emergency Response Team Council of Governments regarding a multi-jurisdictional purchase of a Lenco Bearcat armored vehicle and expending funds for such purchase.
Mr. Cruzy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, this resolution authorizes the city manager to execute a letter of support confirming Vandalia's financial support and also enter into an agreement, again, toward the Regional Emergency Response Team's grant application for the acquisition of a new armored rescue vehicle. Since 2000, Vandalia has been a member of the Regional Emergency Response Team along with the cities of Huber Heights, Fairborn, and Beaver Creek. Again, the Emergency Response Team Executive Board has proposed replacing its 1983 Peacekeeper rescue vehicle utilizing federal grant funds and local matching funds. Again, a new Lenco Bearcat armored vehicle is proposed at a cost of $246,343, with federal funds of $98,537. Each city's contribution would be approximately $37,000. The police department has indicated that there are sufficient unexpended capital funds in the Safe and Stable Fund to cover this cost.
Thank you. May I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 16R42.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Blakesley, a second from Councilman Gerhart. Any comments? Mr. McDonald, will you please read the roll?
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Hearst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. We have now ordinances in our first reading. Ordinance 1606. I guess that's by title only.
Thankfully.
Mr. McDonald?
So much for the short titles.
Yeah.
Yes.
1606, an ordinance amending Section 23601, 660.15E, 660.18, 102008, 102402, 102602, 104409, 104506, 104513J, 104516, 104518, 104521, 104532, 104533, 104534, 146801E, 146803F, 146803J, 1468.04 I3, 146805, 147606, and 148216 of the codified ordinances of the City of Vandalia regarding the duties of the city engineer and director of public services.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ordinances 1606 and 1607 are companion pieces of legislation. Again, these ordinances would amend certain sections of the codified ordinances that reference the city engineer. As part of the 2016 budget, the city engineer staff position was eliminated, and an engineering consulting firm has been contracted with to serve as the city's engineer. It's therefore necessary to remove certain references to the city engineer and instead reference the director of public service. For those responsibilities that specifically require review and approval by the city engineer, and the references to the city engineer will remain, and those responsibilities will be carried out by the city's contractual engineering firm.
Thank you, Mr. Cruzy. I'll entertain a motion.
Move that we approve ordinance 16-06.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Ehlers, a second by Councilman Herbst. Any discussion? Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Ordinance 16-07, Mr. McDonald.
1607, an ordinance amending sections 122201, 122204A, 122401, 122402, 122403, 122404, 122601, 122602, 122604, 122803, 122804, 122805, 122806, 122808, and 123102, Section 67 of the Planning and Zoning Code within the codified ordinances of the City of Vandalia regarding the duties of the city engineer and director of public services.
Is there anything you would like to add, Mr. Cruzy?
No, again, the only difference is these changes are specific to the planning and zoning code.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
Move that we approve ordinance 16-07.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Ehlers, a second by Councilman Blakesley. Are there any questions? Mr. McDonald, will you read the roll, please?
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Ordinance 16-08, Mr. McDonald.
1608, an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 1276.34 solar panel systems of the Planning and Zoning Code within the codified ordinances of the City of Vandalia.
Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. This ordinance updates the city's solar panel systems code to provide clarification, specify that permit review is required for the installation of any solar panel system, and require compliance with all applicable zoning, building, fire, plumbing, and electrical codes. Additionally, freestanding solar panels would only be permitted in the rear yard rather than the side and rear yard, and would be required to be screened from adjoining properties. Freestanding solar panel systems would also be limited to 6 feet in height in all residential districts and any commercial or industrial zone property that backs up to a residential district. Finally, roof-mounted systems would be prohibited from being placed on the side of a roof facing a street.
Very good. May I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 1608.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley, a second by Councilman Ehlers. Are there any questions or comments?
I would like to make one comment on this. We knew that our solar panel ordinance was outdated, and we did have a request for an installation at one site, and so we chartered Rob and Amber to rather quickly change and come back to council with a revised ordinance. And I thought that was well done, nice research, good research, and done with a sense of urgency. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
And I agree and echo Councilman Ayler's assessment there.
Very good. Seeing none, Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Now it brings us to ordinances in the second reading. Tonight we have ordinances in their second reading. Mr. McDonald, will you please read ordinance 1603 by title only?
1603, an ordinance dissolving the Employee Relations Board and repealing Chapter 252 of the Codified Ordinances of Vandalia, Ohio.
Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Employee Relations Board originated in the early 1970s to represent the best interest of the residents of Vandalia and equally Vandalia City employees. This board preceded the state of Ohio collective bargaining laws, which today supersede our local ordinances. The board has not met for many years and is no longer necessary.
Very good. Since this is an ordinance in its second reading, it requires a public hearing. If anyone in the audience has comments or questions, you may come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion on ordinance 16-03.
I move that we approve ordinance 16-03 in its second reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Farce, a second by Councilman Herbst. Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. We have ordinance 16-04 in its second reading. Mr. McDonald?
1604, an ordinance dissolving the Human Relations Commission and amending sections 63201A, 63202A10, and repealing Chapter 272 and sections 63207, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the Codified Ordinances of Vandalia, Ohio, to remove the references to the Human Relations Commission from the Codified Ordinances.
Anything to add, Mr. Cruzy?
Yes, just the Human Relations Board was created in the early 1970s to ensure fairness for all Vandalia citizens. Again, this was initially passed as part of a general civil rights and urban renewal legislation in the state, but has since been addressed by various state and federal anti-discrimination acts that give citizens the right and causes of action that may not have otherwise existed when the ordinance was originally adopted.
Very good. Since this is an ordinance also in its second reading, a public hearing is required. If anyone in the audience has comments or questions pertaining to this ordinance, if you'd please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance 1604.
I move that we approve ordinance 16-04 in its second reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Ehlers, a second by Councilman Blakesley. Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Brings us to ordinance 16-05. Mr. McDonald?
1605, an ordinance dissolving certain obsolete commissions and committees and repealing Chapter 274 and 276 of the codified ordinances relating thereto.
Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. This ordinance would dissolve the Vandalia Youth Soccer Commission, the Vandalia Youth Baseball and Softball Commissions, and the Insurance Review Committee. The soccer, baseball, and softball programs were turned over to the city back in the early 2000s. These commissions have been dormant for many years and are no longer necessary. Regarding the Insurance Review Committee, Vandalia has been a member of the Miami Valley Risk Management Association Risk Management Pool since 1988, and therefore we no longer independently receive quotes for insurance.
Very good. Again, since this is an ordinance in its second reading, it requires a public hearing. If anyone in the audience has comments or questions pertaining to this ordinance, we would ask you to please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance 16-05.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 16.5 in second reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley, second by Councilwoman Forrest. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, Mr. McDonald, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gerhardt,
Yes.
Councilmember Farce,
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Ordinance is an emergency. We have none this evening. Reports from boards and commissions. We have none, but we do have a variance request at 1180 West National Road. Mr. Cruzy?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, variance request for 3 separate signs has been received from Joseph Airport Toyota. Again, they want to replace these signs with signage of the same size and type in order to change out the lighting of the sign with LED lighting. Sign number 1 is the large Toyota sign. This had previously, back in 1992, it was granted a height and square footage variance. And so, the Toyota sign needs a variance from the requirement that all freestanding signs must be constructed as a monument sign with the base of exposed brick or stone. Sign number 2 is the used vehicle sign. Again, this sign needs a variance to allow a 17-foot high freestanding sign where 6 foot is the maximum height permitted, and also needs a variance from the requirement that all freestanding signs must be constructed as a monument sign with the base of exposed brick or stone. Sign number 3 is the directional sign. Sign number 3 needs a variance. It is currently 5 foot high, where 3 foot in height is the maximum height permitted, and it is 6.12 square feet in area, where 3 square feet is the maximum area permitted.
Very good, thank you. We're going to try to entertain these 3 variances on separate motions. So we'll give this a shot. May I have a motion on the first variance requested for the monument sign number 1?
1282.08. Is that correct?
109, let's see.
Are we going to do all stone bases at once?
I think we should do each one individually.
Yeah, there was a request to have these done as 3 separate variances. So for each one, if you wanted a stone base, we would say for sign number 1, stone base. And then in the next motion, we would say for sign number 2, next, et cetera. I'm sorry. So we're currently dealing with the variance for sign number 1, which I believe that was the
Monument sign?
the tall Toyota monument sign. And I believe the variance was for that particular sign. I think there was more than one. Or was it
No,
just
that one
the?
only has
For
1.
that particular sign, it's only regarding the stone base.
It was only the stone base.
Variance for height and area.
Okay, so that one is just for the stone base.
Okay, I move to deny the variance on sign number 1 from 1282.08B1, which requires a stone base,
To deny the variance.
to deny the variance.
All right, pardon me.
I want to be clear on this. On 1282.08, I'm looking at the section numbers, so I'm getting a little confused when we're talking 1, 2, and 3 here, and I want to make sure we're doing this right.
I don't see them.
That's correct. Oh, wait. Yeah, to permit 2 freestanding signs to replace without brick. Yeah.
128208B1.
These are regarding
Okay.
size.
128208B1. 1, requires all freestanding signs shall be constructed as monument signs with exceptions of those signs and it has some various sections. That's not before us right now because they've already have the approval to not have a standard monument sign that we normally require. So that part is not applicable. Still within that same section, the base of all freestanding monument signs, excluding monument signs in office, industrial park, and industrial districts, shall be constructed of exposed stone or brick. They are requesting a variance to not have the stone or brick around their sign.
Okay.
The motion before us is to deny that variance, which would require them to have the stone or brick around the sign.
Second. Just want to make sure we're clear.
I have a motion to deny the requested variance from Councilwoman Forrest. I have a second from Councilman Herbst. Are there questions or comments from council?
The only thing I would mention is during the study session, they talked about a veneer. So
That was deemed acceptable. I mean,
Well, we're not saying that tonight. I mean, right now we'd be requiring them to as they said in the study session, to
I'm sorry.
remove the foundation.
Okay, we didn't talk about that part. Is that a variance to our,
Our code does not
deny
permit.
the variance and require them to use a brick
I think
veneer?
that you would want to approve their variance provided that they, oh gosh,
Provide the
this is just for the
foundation
right.
according to our
Substitute
code,
would be brick veneer.
consisting of a brick veneer approved by our building department.
Okay, well, we have a motion right now to deny, and we have a second. So we need to either get rid of that and amend that motion and move forward. And I think that the motion that you want to make is to approve the variance so they do not have to put all stone around the monument sign,
Right.
provided that they use the stone veneer that was
For a monument base.
for the monument base that was discussed in the work session.
Yes.
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 And that's what we discussed. Yes.
I have an amended motion by Councilwoman Forrest,
Can't we do
Second.
the?
and I have an amended second by Councilman Herbst. Are there any other comments, questions from council? Seeing none, Mr. McDonald, will you read the roll?
Not yet.
Got to make a motion.
I got to write
Oh,
this down.
sorry. Yeah, my paper's a mess.
Councilmember Farce,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Herbst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard,
Yeah.
and Vice Mayor Lewis. You have already said.
Yes, again.
Yeah.
And the motion passes 6-0.
As to that variance for sign number 1.
1.
Right. Okay.
Now we have variance request sign number 2, which I understand that is the 17-foot tall sign?
Correct. Yeah, this one, they're requesting a variance to allow a 17-foot high freestanding sign where 6 foot's the maximum permitted, and then as well as the issue with the stone base.
And they already have a 17-foot
What?
existing sign. is
They
that
have an
what you're saying?
existing 17-foot sign.
Correct.
That's legal non-conforming.
Agreed. We're just replacing one for the other, and the variance is required on both counts.
Yes, this would be a variance to the size of the sign, which we normally require as 6 foot,
And to the base.
and to the base.
I have
Height, excuse me, yes.
would entertain a motion on sign number 2.
Try again.
Well, I move that we approve a variance for the existing 17-foot height, and we disapprove the variance for the base, but allow the veneer just like we did on sign number 1.
Okay, so in essence, what we're doing actually is we're approving both of those. We are approving the height of the sign. We will not require it to be 6 feet. They will maintain the current 17-foot height sign. They can replace that. We are also granting their variance that would require them to put stone all around the stone monument, provided that variance to the stone all the way around is only granted provided they use the stone veneer that was discussed in the work session.
And that was approved for sign number 1.
The same that was approved in sign number 1.
Yes.
That's right.
So I have a motion by Councilman Ayers
Second.
and a second by Councilwoman Forrest. Mr. McDonald, questions, comments?
I'd like to comment on all three signs and all
ahead.
three variances. I'm going to go along with the group and approve it the way it was, or way we were presenting them. Otherwise, I would have definitely voted in favor of granting them the way it was asked. And the reason I'm going along with the brick veneer on the bottom of these monument signs, even though it's requiring them to tear out boxwood trees, and these signs all look, and I believe the building and signs of Joseph Airport Toyota are very aesthetically okay. And the only reason I'm going along is because they did not seem to have a problem with putting the brick veneer on there. Otherwise, I would 100% have supported the variance as was. Thank you.
Very good. Any others? Seeing none, Mr. McDonald, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Herbst?
No.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes. And the motion passes 5-1. That brings us to variance request for sign number 3, which I believe is a 3-foot variance over the 3 feet that they are allowed to have for an ingress and ingress sign.
Correct. This is the
Egress.
existing directional sign. It's currently 5 foot high, and 3 foot is the maximum height permitted. So
Okay.
they need a 2-foot height variance, and the sign is 6.12 square feet, where we allow 3 square feet. So it's a 3.12 area variance as well, 3.12 square feet.
Very good. Do I have a motion on sign number 3?
I'll give it a shot. I make motion that we approve the variance of sign number 3 for size with the addition of the brick veneer added to that.
The brick veneer is not required on this sign.
Okay.
Not on the directional sign.
Although it would be
But I
if
thought
it
we
was
had
6
talked-
feet tall.
But I thought we had talked
Yep.
about it.
The sign's bigger than 3 feet, so if it's up to 5 feet tall, wouldn't the brick veneer be required?
That's one way to look at it, but it is standardly, we're varying from the directional signage requirements. But yes, you're correct in that.
I didn't know whether it was the size dictated or the content of the sign dictated.
Well-
Whether it's a directional sign or a sign for a hamburger, I would submit that it would be the size of the sign that would be relevant as opposed to the content of the sign.
Except that they would not be permitted to have an additional monument sign. They're at their limit, but they
There's
can.
always a
But they
catch.
can have a directional sign. Well, they're not.
Yeah,
You know,
but-
they would not be allowed one
have three-
additional. Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Very
So.
good.
And this is a variance to section 128206K, which is the provision dealing with directional instructional signs, as opposed to a variance dealing with the monument signs. So it is correct that the stone is not a requirement on this sign.
Very good.
This is an existing sign that's going to
Just,
It's an existing sign.
yeah.
Yeah, they're replacing an existing sign which is non-conforming to our code, meaning that it was put in place before we made changes to our code, and so therefore the common term is they're grandfathered in. However, if they want to change a sign that's grandfathered in, then they're required to be compliant with our code. So normally what they would have to do if they wanted to change out that sign is make a sign that is no more than 3 feet high and meets our requirements.
Is this one also going to be digital?
I think it was LED.
No, it's just LED lighting, yeah.
Technically,
LED?
Yeah.
The way these signs are constructed is they have to, my understanding, completely take the signs out, and that's why this isn't just a routine maintenance or just a changing the
They're
face
also
of the
doing that
sign.
with this one.
Yes,
So they're going to pull it up and replace it exactly with LED.
with LED, and that's why it is required that they would get a variance, because it is a major change to the non-conforming sign.
All right. well,
May I hear a motion?
I'll amend my motion before we have to rescind that. I will amend my motion to permit the variance or approve the variance as is for the request of the size variance.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley, second by Councilman Gerhart. Any comments further? Seeing none,
I was going to say something here real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a sign ordinance and a zoning code, and over the years, I don't feel we've been enforcing the codes the way we should have been all along. And I think that's what's brought us to this point to where we have to discuss each of these signs, because we're not enforcing our current sign and zoning code. I think that's just the biggest issue I have with all this. That at some point we need to decide, are we going to enforce our zoning code or are we going to change it?
In that
would agree.
case, I would 100% be in favor of changing it. But, I mean, that's how I've felt for the last 13 years. I know other people have felt opposite. I raised a question to 4 people on council. If any citizen in the city of Vandalia, in many, many years of council service between the people I asked, had anyone ever made a complaint about a sign in our city? And the answer was no by 4 people. So I understand the code. I understand variances. I understand we have businesses operating along Dixie Drive, and we have car dealerships that are more of our more attractive businesses simply trying to lift the sign off that they already have and place another one back on top of it. Good corporate citizen of Vandalia, I have no problem approving that variance. But I agree with you philosophically. I think our code needs to be a little more allowing for people to do stuff like replacing their existing signs without having to ask for variances. That's my opinion. But it's been a long-standing debate on this floor, so it's not new.
Well, I think that's well said, and as Mr. Herb stated, we are bringing to council variance request on almost all the new signs that are being placed in businesses within the city. That tells me we ought to take a look at our current code and look for possible changes. But we can discuss that at another time.
We either look at the code or we decide to enforce our code.
Anybody
What it
else?
comes down to.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerhard,
Yes.
Councilmember Farce,
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst,
No.
Vice Mayor Lewis.
Yes, and the motion passes 5-0.
5-1.
5-1. Sorry, Richard. You have before you a bill listing in the amount of $3,239,123.78. Any comments or questions from council? Seeing none, we will begin with council comments. Mr. McDonald?
I would just remind council that if it desires to excuse the mayor, it does so before the executive session, just so that we can get that in the minutes because after the executive session, we tend just to adjourn.
Very good. Do I have a motion to excuse our mayor?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Blakesley, second by Councilwoman Farst.
Your Honor, I'd like to amend that to include all meetings tonight.
So amended. Motion and the second still stand. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Same sign. That motion passed 6-0. Now, comments to Mr. McDonald if you have any further. That was all I had. Very good. Mr. Cruzy?
Nothing additional this evening, Your Honor.
All right, let's go with Councilman Blakesley.
Well, Ms. Brzezinski there at the end had us covered on the mayor, so he stole the thunder there because I was going to comment that the vice mayor has done a stellar job at filling in for the mayor, and I was going to segue me right into excusing the mayor, so we already took care of that business. I'd like to thank and appreciate the Historical Society for coming out tonight, as well as partnering with and further encouraging to continue to pursue the B project. So I think that's a great project. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. Councilwoman Farst?
Just thank the Historical Society for coming tonight and the new historical club at the high school. They've really been involved in a lot of events at the grounds over the last probably year, I think, and have quite a group going, which is really exciting to see. And they're an integral part of our city, and we value them, and they do a ton of work on that property, and we all benefit from that. But thank you.
Councilman
That's
Gerhard?
it. Thank you.
No further comments other than you did a great job running the meeting.
See, I thought the
You might
vice
be a
mayor.
natural.
I thought the vice mayor job was like vice president. You get a nice title and you don't have to do anything. And I got the call today, and it scared me to death. Council member Herbst.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Mark Anderson for serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals here for the last almost 4 years. He's recently resigned that position because he's moving south of town, but I'd just like to thank him for his service. And also thank you for filling in tonight. Great job.
Thank you very much. Bob?
No comment, thanks.
No comments. Now with that, and I have none this evening, it's been recommended that we adjourn to executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We need to do a roll call vote to go into executive session. I'm sorry.
I thought you worked for us. Okay, go ahead. Mr. McDonald?
Councilmember Gerhard?
Yes.
Councilmember Farce?
Yes.
Councilmember Herbst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
And the reason we're going into executive session is to reconvene for the purpose, where's the reason? To discuss the potential
possible sale of real property.
Real property, yes, I'm sorry.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. So we are recessed to go into executive session.